Okay, now we're going to start working on Project 2. So Project 2 is exactly the same as Project 1. We are still working with the song database, but we are going to use structs instead of just parallel arrays. So if you look at it, it says use struct to model composite data, which is a single song. Use an array of objects or array of structs to model a collection. Use character arrays, and the rest of it is the same. Okay, so here the only thing that's different is we're going to remove a song from the database. We're going to add, we are going to get it from the file, we're going to print, we're going to search. Along with that, we're going to remove a song. And I also want you to keep track of duration in minutes and seconds. Both of them hold numbers. So the data will look like this: 3 semicolon 34. That means 3 minutes and 34 seconds. So now you have two parts to the duration. So have two integers in your struct array or in your struct data type that you create. You should have 4 data members: title, which is a char array; artist, which is a char array; duration, minutes; duration, seconds. They are both ints. 4 data members. Okay. So then you go through this. This is all the same that you did for Project 1. You're doing it with Project 2, and I'm going to kind of walk you through and show you how to get started. Okay, so that's that. Now I have an algorithm that I've written. You should write an algorithm in your algorithmic design document. Okay, so here is how I'm going to start. Make this a little bigger. I'm going to start with a struct for my video, 2 data members. So follow this and you should be able to have your data design pretty soon, algorithmic design. You should have 4 data members, 2 char arrays and 2 ints. I have 1 char array and 1 int. I'm going to have a default constructor. I'm going to have a constructor with parameters. I'm going to load the data from the file. I'm going to add, these are the functions I'm going to have. Okay, and you should have details of each function. I don't have it, but you should. Load the data from the file, add video, search video, remove video, print video. Then I'm going to have implementation for constructors, implementations for all these functions. Create an implementation means writing the function, right? Then I'm going to create an array of the videos in main, okay, because I just created the struct with all this information. Then I'm going to actually create my variable, which is my list variable. We saw how to do this in the previous video. We're going to write these functions, which are to take care of the menu stuff, okay? I'm also going to have a read int to validate integers. We didn't do that before. So we're going to try and validate our data. Then we write the last function to write to file. When the program is all done, the new data that the user enters should all be saved back to the file. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Test your program incrementally. That's the overall algorithm. Okay, I'm going to start with part 1. Part 1, all it's going to do is create the struct, create the constructors, write the implementation for the constructors, which is essentially doing the constructors, nothing more than that. It's just a fancy term for saying write the code for the constructor. Load the data from the file. I'm going to write that function, and I'm going to write the print function. With those two, I can test it. That's all I need. Okay, so you're going to start small. That is all we are going to do in part 1. So here is my code that I've already written. I'm going to show you. I have project2.cpp. So here is the first part of project 2. Okay, let's take a look at, oops. Okay, starting from line 1. Comments, have your comments, header file, header comments must be there. That says what your program is doing. File input output, array of structs is what I'm going to do. Have a date, declares a user-defined struct data type called video type. If you change all this, you must make sure everything refers to your song data type. The video names and year are loaded into an array of structs. It's a menu-driven program, shows how to add, remove, print, and search for a movie. Okay. All right. Then I include everything, all of this stuff. I have 2 constants. One is for my char array. One is for the number of elements in my array. Same as what we had before. Nothing different. The struct, here's where I create the struct, video type, just like in my example. The 2 data members that I have, a char array and an year. 2 constructors. There's a default constructor. I copy no title to it. I copy year equals 0. I set year equals 0. constructor with parameters. I will add constructor with parameters. Okay, so it takes the new title and it takes a new year, whatever that comes in, it copies that into the object's title and year. You start thinking about everything in terms of objects. So when a struct gets created, it will have a title and year, because that's what the data type is doing, telling it that the struct, when the object gets created, it will have a title and year. Remember, title and year are part of those objects. They are not standing separately. Like name is a part of you, right? You have a name, and that name is part of you and me. I have a name, you have a name. It's just like that. The object has a title, the object has a year. And we are copying from new title into that object's title and from new year into that object's year. That's what that's doing there. Okay, then we have two functions that I said I'm going to write in my algorithm, the load from the file and the print. So if you go take a look at the load from the file function, let's take a look at the overall program here. So load data is a void function. It's loading from the file. It takes a file stream variable by reference. It takes a list of my struct objects, not just one, because I have multiple items, right? So it takes a list of videos. That's what that is. And a count, which is coming in by reference. So if you take a look in main, here's where I'm creating everything. Main is what's called the client code. So this is the client code. Main. Video type, I create a list of videos. Each item will have a title and year. Capacity is set to 20 on the top. I create my file stream variable. I set count equals 0. I open the file called videos.txt. If it doesn't open, I output an error message. I should have something more than that that says file did not open, something like that. Return 0, the program quits if the file does not open. If the file opens, we are here on this line that says load data. I send my file stream variable, my list, which is my array, list of videos. It's just one array now. It's a list of video records, right? And a count. Count is starting at 0. So that's what comes in here initially. My array is empty. Count is set to 0. I read the first line from the file. Okay, the text file looks like this. Let's go here on the left-hand side and take a look at my text file. See, the text file looks like that, right? Same as what it did before. So I read the title until the semicolon, that's what that says. Go into my loop, read the next thing, which is my number. Ignore the new line that's there at the end of every line. There is a new line character that I need to ignore to go to the next line. So count gets incremented after I've read one line. Read the next line, title, till the semicolon. Go back to the while loop, check and see if there's data. If there is data, continue reading. There's no more data in the file. We come out of there and go back here. Count will tell me how many lines I have because it got sent by reference. Call print list. Print list takes the array and count. Count now has 6 because I have 6 lines in my file. Come here, go to the print function, go through a for loop. I simply print it separated by semicolon. Nothing fancy. But notice how I print it. Go through a for loop and say print list of I dot title. I goes from 0 to 6. List of I dot year. You will print 4 things. Name of the song, artist, followed by ints and minutes, all separated by semicolon. Ints and minutes can be separated by colon, however you want. But you have to be careful because when we write it out to the file, it has to be exactly the way it was before. Otherwise, you'll have trouble reading it back. Okay, that's all I've done. Load data and print data. And that's all I said I would do for part 1. And then you close the file at the end. So now if I right quit, compile it, it's called Project2, like that, run it. All it should do is load the names of the movies from the file and print it. That's part 1.